everyone, welcome to another episode of the Silicon Dreams 1550 AM. I'm Charlene from Orbis 86, your host for today, and we have with us a very special guest, Pieyush C Joy, a seasoned product manager with a knack for navigating the dynamic landscapes of Web2 and Web3 technologies. With a passion for innovation in crypto and a track record of delivering high quality products, he is poised to lead the successful launch of groundbreaking projects at AnCrypto and beyond. Welcome, Pieyush. It's great having you here.
Hey, hi, Charlene. Thank you for the warm introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And I think with that, we already have an idea of your amazing journey. So let's start with, understanding what got you to Web3, how did it start, and your current role, if you can talk a little bit about that. And, what do you think about Web3 in general, the whole blockchain and crypto landscape?
Awesome. Yeah. Just to give a brief about my journey, I would like to really start that I am actually coming from the Silicon Valley of India, right? I come from Bangalore. So I was well exposed to understanding technology. So once I graduated from my college from Bangalore University, I really got the opportunity to work with Flipkart as a social media specialist. That I really understood that, dealing with people's problems, I kind of started having an interest towards that, solving these problems, and that's what really like brought me first into understanding tech and the service industry. I was there for like around 6 months, and then I navigated into a startup where I was pretty much like a business development executive. I really understood that I was talking to clients, and basically I was trying to get more business for that company.
Mhm.
And then I started to become a project manager. So there I led an entire team of 12 to 15 developers, front end and back end developers.
Mhm.
And then I started getting exposed myself to more of the technological end of it, a lot of functional things I started realizing. And then more or more or less, like I started building my career over project management,
Mhm.
and that was pretty much my Web2 journey. So
Right.
I was there like 2 years working in the startup, and after that, I got an opportunity to work with the Metaverse project.
Mhm.
So that was my entry into Web3. So this was
Okay.
around the same time when crypto and Metaverse was becoming a big thing in the space, and I really didn't want to miss out on it, and I was really like looking for an opportunity. I joined this digital fashion Metaverse. It was called Meta Arrow. It was a very exciting project. We were trying to build a complete shopping experience over Web3. It's totally built on the Unreal Engine experience, and I was dealing with more of the project growth, and I was also managing a team of like 5 to 6 developers that was like Unreal Engine developers, game developers. So I kind of got a whole exposure of how the crypto landscape works. Leaving not only the crypto but the metaverse,
Mhm.
like building a digital experience. I got to understand a lot of these things, and then I finally understood that crypto is the place to be, especially Web3, because that was when the prices were like going up, and
Yeah.
I really didn't want to miss out on these opportunities. So I started like putting more time into this, started engaging myself into it, started going for these conferences, Web3 events, meeting folks like you, building my network, and I started like building my own credibility in the space. So I was there in for this metaverse project for like around 8 to 9 months, and then I switched into a crypto wallet industry. So that is when I kind of geared my whole career towards fintech.
Right.
So what we are doing with AnCrypto is basically we're building a non-custodial crypto wallet,
Mhm.
and the project has been live for the past 1 year, and we have been able to onboard like 300,000 users,
Mhm.
and we have built a huge credibility around the crypto wallet space by building an experience that no wallet is right now offering. I mean,
Right.
coming to that later on, but basically my journey was pretty much, like just taking up the roller coaster drive and seeing where I end up. That's how it was.
Definitely. I mean, that's a very, very interesting journey just to see that the whole thing happen. And you spoke about, the whole concept of non-custodial crypto wallets, right? So like AnCrypto. So for our listeners who might not be familiar with them, how do they differ from traditional custodial wallets?
Right, right. So what I do with UnCrypto firstly is I'm a product manager. So I basically look into the entirety of the product development and design. So I believe I should be able to explain this in a much more simpler way for your audience.
Mhm.
So let's just understand a crypto wallet to be a basic wallet, right? It's anything to store your crypto assets. So these crypto assets, they're basically a bunch of code and they have to be stored very securely. And that's where crypto wallets come. So what's happening here is crypto wallets are built in and designed in such a way that they're able to read the public wallet addresses and store them very safely, and your private keys are intact. So
Mhm.
now there are custodial wallets and non-custodial wallets. So custodial wallets are those wallets that are pretty much centralized. Like there would be a centralized agency or a centralized network that actually has control over your public assets and your private keys. But when it comes to non-custodial, it's pretty much totally decentralized. In all sense, it's like the private keys is given to the user itself. He's responsible for his keys. If it's not your keys, it's not your wallet. That's the notion, right? So what at Encrypto we have done is we have built a non-custodial wallet where your complete keys are stored within your device itself. So we are just a service, right? You're responsible for your keys. If you lose your keys, you lose your funds. It's very simple like that. Because what we really envision is giving the complete freedom for users to have their experience over dealing with DeFi.
Right.
And we have built a very Web3 concrete wallet where you can not only just store crypto assets but also interact into the wider Web3 space. So why we really did this is, firstly, you will be in control of your keys. Nobody else is in control of your keys. You're given your seed phrase, and these seed phrases is pretty much, you can import them. You can import your trust wallet seed phrase into uncrypto, or you can create your own seed phrase, have store them somewhere or make a note of them, and then of course these private keys that is being registered, which is your wallet address. They would have these private keys to actually read transactions. All those particular keys will be stored within the user's device, and crypto has no control over it. Unlike custodial wallets, what's actually happening is those private keys are being stored in some of the servers where these companies or organizations have access to it. So it's not safe. So with
Mhm.
uncrypto, it's completely non-custodial, it's completely safe, completely decentralized.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, that I think that will definitely appeal. And thanks for simplifying it. That made, I mean, I hope our listeners have understood what non-custodial wallets are now. And speaking, going back to your journey actually as a product manager, and whatever else that you have described in the way. So, could you share a memorable project from your career where you successfully navigated challenges in the Web3 space? Because there are so many. And what were some of the key lessons that you learned while you navigated these challenges?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. So I can think of this one moment. I'll just go back to my the past where I was actually building that digital fashion metaverse experience. So one of the major challenges we were facing is we were very motivated, very aspirational, set of team of developers. Our founder was very motivated to build, a complete experience over Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
So for the listeners who don't know, so Unreal Engine is a very advanced computerization or a gaming technology where you can experience like super realistic graphics, super realistic graphics. So for any computer to support these kind of high graphic resolutions, the one major thing that's required is hardware and very good resources, and you need a good computation power. And all these things require a lot of money, and require a lot of energy and resources. And what we were actually building is we were building a metaverse that would be completely built around this technology, that's Unreal Engine. And Unreal Engine was a very developing thing. It was still being explored upon. There was Unreal Engine 4. By the time we were building our experience, Unreal Engine 5 got released. So why I gave this brief is just that we were building our metaverse on Unreal Engine 4, right? And then later on, within 2-3 months, they released Unreal Engine 5. And
Right.
then we were building this entire metaverse experience, and we noticed there's a huge gap between 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Like with Unreal Engine 5, there was ray tracing introduced, and there were cross-platform experiences slowly getting developed and researched. So we felt that there was this major gap, and we were not able to address it because when we were actually, so I was there as a senior project manager, working with the co-founders. So I used to get into all these meetings with the advisors and the investors, because we were looking to raise funds and everything. And every time they used to just ask, like, don't you feel there's a huge gap between you guys dealing with Unreal Engine 4, and now there's Unreal Engine 5, and who knows, there might be Unreal Engine 6 and 7. So we were like, yeah, that is a genuine question, and we didn't really see this coming. And so what happened is all those experiences that we built on Unreal Engine 4, which was pretty much a lot of time. It took like around 6 to 7 months. All these things were going to come into risk, and then we understood like, oh damn, what did we get into? Like we are working on some old technology right now, and we need to now stay updated for the latest technology. And not only that, as I said, it requires energy and resources. We really didn't have those things to back us up. We didn't have the funds, we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the exact engineers who were actually familiar with this technology, or the updated technology. And of course, the computation power, we were not able to support it. So there was this major gap when it comes to the technical and on the funding end. And so it was a major lesson for me to really, understand like Web3 is still, a growing and, a space that is still being explored.
Definitely.
And when you actually get into all these kind of commitments, you always need to consider that you're still too early. You're still too early. Web3 is still too early. Like that comes to every industry right now. Any sector in Web3 is just too early. We are just like building solutions for the future.
Yeah.
And that was my learning lesson for me, where I understood that if anybody who wants to come into Web3, always remember this, that there's a road of challenges ahead. And if you're willing to like deal with those challenges, there's a lot of a lot of pain and sweat around it. And if you have the patience, and if you have the willpower, and a deep desire to take those risks, then jump into Web3. Or else I would always say like stick to Web2. It's always good. There are a lot of there are a lot of products out there. There are a lot of technologies out there. There are a lot of jobs out there. But if you're coming into Web3, it's always a risk. So my lesson was obviously navigating those risks in all those ways, because I stayed updated. I was making sure that I knew what was happening in the latest part of Web3, and being part and parcel of Web3 is how you can navigate those challenges.
Definitely. I mean, Web3 is, like you said, fairly new. And, when you compare Web2 and Web3, of course, the landscape is definitely changing every second, every minute. But with Web3, I think there are more risks involved just because it is so new and people are still trying to understand what's happening and, what's going on with it. So, but I believe that also, like you said, if you come in, you have to be able to, take these risks to go forward. And yeah, that's about it. And so as someone deeply involved in both web 2 and web 3 technologies, what are some of the notable differences in project management approaches between the two ecosystems?
Wow. Okay. This is a question I really need to think about. Well, firstly, when it comes to Web 2, how I can say project management works is the traditional sense, like you just take down someone's requirement and then you build over it. Like if you're in a service industry, definitely that's how it's going to work. You take down those requirements, then you do some brainstorming around it, and then you finalize those requirements and tell your clients, like, hey, this is what we can do, and this is how we can develop. And then you give the budget and you forecast the timelines for development, and pretty much it's very straightforward. When
Mhm.
it comes to Web3, I would say it's a totally different journey. Like, firstly, those requirements should be written down. But again, you'll have to just make sure that you're giving your client the best experience, or you're giving your stakeholders the best experience by staying updated with understanding what is actually happening in Web3. Because if you're going to now employ something which was discarded in Web3, a very simple thing is like there's a lot of arguments or a lot of statements around proof of work, proof of stake, delegated proof of stake, and so on and so forth. So if you're trying to find a good solution for your client, and if you're going for the wrong or for the outdated stuff, I'm not saying proof of work is outdated. That's not my point of view. I'm just giving an example here. Like it depends on like what kind of solution you're offering them, or what kind of solution you're taking to actually first get started on the development. And on the development front, what really matters is there's a lot of brainstorming required, and you need to really be willing to understand that this is something very challenging. Like it's not like very easy,
Mhm.
because you need to have resources who know Solidity,
Yeah.
who has a good understanding of crypto JS, and so on and so forth. So you don't find resources firstly who can actually develop these kind of things. And if you really need to find those resources, you need to be able to meet them in the the hackathons on these various very good freelancing websites and so on and so forth. So there's this limitation of resource. And
Mhm.
when it comes to the management style, it's a bit more different. It's like, firstly, you develop something, and then you actually take in user feedback. You have to take the user feedback, because what's happening in Web3 is there are different like user personas, and
Mhm.
if you do not understand those user personas and you develop a product, you might not really even be recognized for your work.
Right.
Like a very simple example is there is meme coins. There is this whole trend of accepting memes as a culture. But in Web2, that doesn't really work because nobody really is going to appreciate you having a cat meme over your Web3 product or over your Web2 product. But you can do that in Web3.
Mhm.
So the management style is totally different. I was not really inclining on the project management end, but I'm just talking about how a product development roadmap would look like and how that product execution would look like. Everything is different. And I can definitely say one thing for sure, like once you actually build a Web3 product, for it to actually be accepted, it's very difficult. Like it's a long journey ahead to actually have them understand your key features or your key USP,
Right.
and communicating and getting it driven out there. That's very difficult. That's where you need the support of your users. You need a community driven approach. But in Web2, it's very much like, oh, I have a product, I'm going to push it out there, I know the users are there, I'm solving a user's particular need. But
Mhm.
in Web3, it's different. In
Right.
Web3, you might be solving a user's need, but it's not a necessity. there's
Yeah.
a there's a difference between necessity and there's a difference between the requirements met over there. So I would say that there's this huge gap. And the one major difference I can definitely say is in Web3 everything is colorful, right? There's a lot of creativity around it. And Web2, it's a very a boring sense of, yeah, it's a product, I'm just solving this, we're good with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I would say it's very different in that sense.
That's true. I mean, we already have the know-how Web to start with, but how do you prioritize features and enhancements in in this constantly evolving environment like the crypto space?
How I would really prioritize my features is firstly, we need to always stick to a roadmap, right? Regardless of what it is, have a roadmap in place because you'll have a lot of feedback, a lot of suggestions,
Right.
a lot of brainstorming, a lot of ideas coming in through. You'll be like just going through a Web3 magazine and like, hey, why not? Why don't I do this? And you can be able to do that. But if you start, employing all these different ideas and different development, then you're never going to develop your actual product. You get stuck in that loop where you're not really considering your priorities. So
Right.
coming to your priorities, I would definitely say listen to what your users have to say. Right,
Mhm.
that's very important. Understanding what's the need of the hour is something important. But sticking to your roadmap, sticking to your plan, sticking to what you believe in, because
Mhm.
that's how Web3 is all about. Web3 is all about the identity. It's all about the culture that you believe in, the change that you want to bring into the space. So I would always say prioritize your roadmap. And of course, when you feel your product is out there and it's not performing to the best, work on those bugs, and make it much more user centric. So
Mhm.
I would always say user experience, always prioritize user experience, because there's a huge gap of users to get onboarded into Web3.
That's
Firstly, it's very complicated, it's very technical, and there's a lot of things that they have to really wade through. In Web2, it's very straightforward. So in Web3, you need to give them that handheld user guidance. You need to tell them this is what you got to be doing, this is what's supposed to be done through this particular feature, and you educate your product. And building that education, building that awareness of the product, and prioritizing your features in such a way that all this is being addressed is how you need to be working out on your priorities.
right. That makes sense. I think having a roadmap is definitely the way to go. We also kind of read that you have a background in mindfulness and fitness. Is that true? Yeah.
Yeah.
Web3 is crazy. I mean, crazy in a good way, but it is, it kind of gets you at some point. So, how do you incorporate these practices, if you do, into your professional life and, help maintain like a balance and focus, especially in like high pressure situations? I mean, this could be generally in work, but especially in Web3. How do you incorporate it? If yes, then how?
Well, coming to the fitness end, yes, it's very important to stay fit, stay healthy. You're doing a lot of things. Like Web3 is a lot of challenges, but definitely there's a lot of rewards around it. You make a good amount of money, and if you want to enjoy that money, you gotta stay healthy. This is my one advice I tell everyone: like stay fit, stay healthy, because I've been through my dark days where I was going through an illness, and I realized that I'm like, all this is good, but if you don't have the health to enjoy all this, then there's no point of it. Like that's one of the major things why I really make sure that I'm sustainable in the long run.
Absolutely.
because building my career in this space is important, but also if you don't have the time or that health to actually experience the rewards out of all you know the time that you're put into,
Mhm.
then this is not really something fruitful for you.
Yeah.
So health is important, fitness is important. So once I'm done with my day, I go grind in the gym 1.5 hours straight up, hit some dumbbells, do some benches, go crazy on that. And I feel really what do you say, like satisfied by that. A whole day of grind, and then I'm at the gym working out, meeting more people who have the same mindset as me. We synergize, we have that same frequency, we talk about how our day was, and then we come to the gym, we grind, and then that feeling, that gives some sort of balance. So maintaining that balance is very important in somebody's personal and professional life. And talking about the mindfulness, yes, there was a time when I was going through a phase where I just was kind of confused, and so I relied on myself I relied on my consciousness, and just felt like, yeah, let's take a break, and let's start living in the moment. And that's what mindfulness is all about, right? Just staying in that zone and accepting things as it is, and closing your eyes and letting time flow through you, and having a peace of mind, because that's important. Because yeah, health is something, but the mindfulness where you can experience a sort of satisfaction, your achievements, and your downfalls, and then you accept them, and you basically self realize and self introspect about yourself. That's very important in mindfulness. And I was really influenced by a lot of thought provoking leaders. I read a lot of books, and everyone said that mindfulness is very important. And even in the Web3 space, like if you meet a lot of top folks out there, they just tell that they're very much into the fitness, they're very much into health, because they know to live a sustainable life after all these things that they have worked hard for, it's just to keep yourself happy. And staying happy requires a lot of these things.
Yeah, that's definitely it. I mean, when I met people, folks from Web3, I was very surprised because if you meet people generally like devs in Web2, they're like all of, I mean, it's the hustle culture. I can't blame them. But then in Web3, everyone just seemed so chill and they enjoyed what they were doing. And for those who, and like you said, like mindfulness and fitness together go hand in hand, because I think for your ups, when you want to enjoy everything, you need to be fit enough for it. And when you're going through your lows in Web3, I think that's where mindfulness comes in, which is the best combination. And with that, I have my final question for you, which is a little bit of AI. So I want to know, how do you see the intersection of AI and blockchain shaping the future of technology and innovation? Because you're in the field and everything's Web3, but now AI is slowly coming in. I think there are a lot of platforms that are, AI integrated with Web3. So are there any specific use cases or projects that you find particularly exciting in this space or that you guys are working on? What's the scene?
Okay, that's amazing, bringing AI into this. So yeah, if you look at it, AI, Web3, crypto, all of these guys are actually emerging technologies,
Mm-hmm.
right? And these emerging technologies are basically, self, like, we would depend on each other. And if you're able to combine these technologies together, you'll
Right.
be able to have a solid synergy, a solid product out there.
Mhm.
So what basically Web3 is trying to solve is, users, ownership, having freedom to, own what you want to do, or to own your digital assets or your financial freedom in your own terms. So there's a narrative that's there on Web3.
Right.
And when it comes to AI, it's much more about utilizing the best of the technology to solve your problems, to actually build solutions, and not relying on the human labor. So yeah, there are two different narratives, but when you combine these narratives, you have a stronger synergy. I can give you a very good example. Coming to our wallet itself, our wallet, we have a chat and pay feature. So leaving all that aside, we have like a trading feature that we have introduced. Now, if anybody wants to get into trading or something, they would really need some help or some sort of guidance. And if there's like a chatbot, and that chatbot is AI driven, where it has all these different solutions, completely able to address these users problems, that's a very good way, that's a very good collaboration I can definitely see between AI and crypto. But not only that, there are different other ways that AI can be actually employed to build better solutions. Like a very quick one I could definitely say is automating your trades. Maybe you can actually employ an AI chatbot or an AI bot that can actually understand your trading cycles, and then accordingly positioning your trades for you. So this is a very elaborate topic that I would really like to discuss on. And of course, like I don't think so the time would permit on that end. But how I can really say is we need all these technologies, and accepting these technologies and then building over them, and of course finding solutions that actually leverage these technologies would take us much forward. And
Yeah,
we need blockchain, we need crypto, we need Web3. And once we combine these two strong models, it's going to bring it's going to actually elevate our upgradation of human life, and of course the society as a whole. Like, we would really need all these technologies.
for sure. I mean, a lot of people right now see, AI and Web3 as a threat, but I think we need to think differently and see where they work together for just the good. I mean, technology has definitely been something we've all taken time to adapt to with the internet to start off with. So I think with AI and Web3, it's going to take some time, but we're going to get there. And yeah, I think with that we come to an end of the episode. Thank you so much, Piyush, for sharing your journey and your insights and expertise on navigating the dynamic landscapes of Web3 and crypto. We enjoyed the conversation. I hope our listeners did too. And yeah, with that, I think we're gonna say bye and stay tuned for more engaging discussions on the Silicon Dreams, guys.